Hey everybody, this is Max at Jack Pine, coming at you again with another WMS tip. Today, I wanted to talk about what makes an inefficient process. In every application, you've got a lot of different processes with a lot of different steps that the users have to perform. And some of them might lead to losing time throughout the day, but it's really hard to identify where those inefficiencies come from. But here's a couple tips to point you in the right direction on how to improve your productivity. So, what makes an inefficient process? Well, there's a lot of things that can go into it. Sometimes there's extra steps that a user might need to take or extra scans that they need to perform. Sometimes it's an operational change, doing too many manual processes like counting pallets compared to an inbound receiving worksheet. Every time you go through that hard copy, you're performing an extra iteration of that process that you could have confirmed once using the system. In order to make improvements, you need operational and system changes to work together to make the process easier and more efficient for your users. So, what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you an example. This is an example of a pretty simple picking process. It might look something like yours, where our user starts by confirming the assignment they're about to work on, the location that they traveled to, the license plate or LP that they're picking from, and then the item and quantity that they're about to pick. In looking at this, it might not be clear where these unnecessary steps are. But when you think about what each step is doing, you might see something that we can cut out in the middle. For example, when I scan my license plate, that LP can only exist at one place in my facility. So that confirms my travel by performing that step without having to scan the location itself. If I change my process to go straight to scanning the LP as my first step after confirming my assignment, I've confirmed the travel that I've performed by telling the system that I'm physically in front of this license plate, and the system knows where that is. So I've already told it how far I've had to move on my equipment. Small changes like that might only be about 5 seconds per pick, but across 150 picks a day for, let's say, 50 pickers saves over 10 hours of time per day. Processes like that with easy time saves are exactly what we mean when we talk about an inefficient process. And these small changes to the system really add up quick. Here's another example from a customer that we worked with that dealt with large frames of glass up in elevated racking. Starting from the same example picking system we just presented, the user has to first scan the item and then enter the quantity that they're going to pick. Now, in this example, the barcode that the user had to scan for the item was deep in the racking, sometimes in the far right corner, and the user had to almost climb into the rack in order to scan the item to confirm what they were picking. Then they had to climb all the way back out to look at their equipment mounted device to see what quantity they needed, only to climb all the way back in and obtain the product. You can add extra information to the screen, like putting the quantity they're going to need at the time that they had to scan the item to give the user an advanced notification of what they're going to need to do so that they can obtain that product right away after scanning the item. This saved 10, 15 seconds per pick for them to have to go in and out of that location and look at the information on their screen after they'd already done the first step. It's important to be able to find inefficient processes in your operation so you can see where the improvements can be made. Sometimes those are cutting out extra steps. Sometimes that's adding extra information to the screen. Sometimes that's combining processes together, like having your picker wrap the pallet and then going straight to an outbound door instead of dropping it at a staging location and counting on somebody else to come and pick it up later. Making your process more efficient isn't just about time savings and productivity. Users hate having to do the same silly steps over and over again, and management is going to see a lot of morale and retention improvement from making it the best process that it could be for the users to perform. Do yourself a favor and make it the best. If you want to hear more about how we can improve your operations, give me a call.